What's going on, everybody? My name is Ethan. Thank you for clicking on my video today. Recently, I posted a questionnaire on my Instagram where I asked people to give me suggestions or ideas for videos that they'd like to see from me. And somebody suggested that I talk about binge eating and how to alleviate it based on my own experience. Binge eating is something that I have dealt with numerous times on and off. It's something that you can be very clean on your diet for a week, a month, however long, and one night you might succumb to it, and then it just kind of snowballs. The next night it's worse, and then worse, and then worse, and it becomes very difficult to control. This has happened to me on so many occasions, but I've implemented a few things that have helped me personally. So in this video, I want to preface, I'm not a professional. I'm not going to sit here and sell you the magic pill or the magic bullet. I'm simply going to give you a few things that I implemented into my schedule that help me stay on track and honestly alleviate binge eating or the desire to altogether. Every now and then I might fail, it might happen, but usually it's a result of me neglecting a few of the steps that I'm going to give to you today. If you guys are new to my channel, my name is Ethan. I talk about things like diet, fitness, I do fitness challenges, I make recipes. I don't typically make videos where I'm sitting in front of the camera and just talking, but I want to do more stuff like this in the future because I think it's important for me as a creator to share a little bit of my experience and my perspective to those who follow me because I want to help out as much as I can. The biggest goal on my channel, I inject a lot of humor. I like to have a lot of fun on this channel. I have my little anecdotes and stuff I like to slip in there, but at the end of the day, I want people to pull something positive from this channel every single video. So if you guys have not already, please drop a like down below and smash that subscribe button, ring the bell to be notified when I drop more videos like this, and leave a comment if you got a suggestion for a video in the future. Now guys, I'm done talking. Let's get into these steps, but first, cue the intro. Dude, I love that intro so much. We spent 3 hours making that thing. I have a drone over there that I don't get to use because it's snowing in upstate New York and the weather doesn't call for it. But I had fun with it. I really like it. But anyways, this first one I'm going to breeze past pretty quickly because it's really obvious. We all kind of know it. It's very simple. Eat high volume foods that are lower in calorie. The reason you should do that is very simple. If you can fill up your stomach with less calories, you can eat more throughout the day, you can fill up more, you spend less time being hungry, less time thinking about food, but you stay within your caloric maintenance. It's also good to budget your macros, try to supplement a lot of protein, but honestly, calories in, calories out is a determining factor as to staying lean and achieving your goals. We all know it, but I had to say it because I think it's very important and I think it'd be dumb to just kind of neglect that in this video. But anyways, second tip, establishing a solid sleep schedule. Recently, I've had a problem with binging, I would say within the last couple months, and the reason for that is I was staying up till 1, 2, 3 in the morning trying to edit videos and finish them because I want to hit certain deadlines. And because of that, I spend a lot more time awake. I'm staying up super late, but I still get up at around 7 o'clock, so I spend less time sleeping. That's more time throughout the day that I'm awake and more time that I'm going to be thinking about food. Especially when I'm editing. There's not a lot happening, my mind isn't super occupied, and it's hard to be in a good workflow when it's super late at night. Like I'm trying to force these edits out sometimes, and my mind can really just gravitate towards food. Breakfast is called breakfast because you're breaking fast. You're fasting for 8 hours. If you can fast for 8 hours, that is a third of your day that you're not going to be thinking about food. The more time you spend awake, the more time you're going to be thinking about food. The less time you're awake, the less time you're going to be thinking about food. It's good to get 8 hours of sleep anyways, even outside of just trying to control binges, but this helps in this area. I highly suggest you guys prioritize your sleep because it's something that I recently started doing and I noticed it makes a world of a difference. My third tip is to not prep your meals. I know a lot of people have busy schedules and a lot of people are on the go. In that particular case, absolutely prep your meals. It'll make life a lot easier. But someone like myself who spends a lot more time at home, I don't really have a need to prep my meals. It's nice for convenience. Do it all at once. You don't have to make a mess in your kitchen. But the problem with that is your food, your meals, all of this stuff is going to be shelved in your fridge, sitting there, ready to be eaten. If you have a little bit of a hard time with self-control, you can walk right downstairs to your fridge and have a 600-calorie meal just ready to be devoured. There was a point where I kind of got sick of cooking 4 or 5 times a day with my meals, so I prepped everything on a certain day and just had it ready in the fridge. But I noticed whenever I'd get bored, like an hour or two after eating a 600-calorie meal, I would have another 600-calorie meal, and then another one. And within 2 or 3 hours, I had almost 2,000 calories because the food's just sitting there, waiting for me to eat it. So unless you're on the move, unless you have a very busy schedule, steer away from prepping your meals. I noticed that made a big difference for me because it requires more incentive and more work and more effort to actually consume the food. And that brings me into my fourth tip. Try to aim for foods that require prep. Don't have a lot of cereal. Don't have a lot of snacks, a lot of granola bars that you can just unpeel and have 200-300 calories. If having to eat requires blending up a bunch of ingredients, putting it in the oven, or whatever you have to do, if it's not just reach in your cupboard and eat it, there's less incentive to go out of your way to do it, and it requires more effort. So that might deter you from wanting to binge a little bit. Not the biggest step in the world, but it might help you if you feel so inclined to do so. But it's up to you. I suggest you try it out. Step number 5, for all of my OG subscribers, you know this one. Drink a gallon of water a day. Now look, I'm not gonna try to market myself as some kind of expert. I'm not. I'm speaking solely out of experience. And in all of my videos, I always emphasize having a gallon jug with you at all times. Because most people do not realize how little water they take in. Staying hydrated will alleviate that hunger sensation that you get, especially if you're walking around all day dehydrated. If you don't want to sit there and chug a ton of water, I suggest you have water on hand. But if you're not going to do that, drink coffee, drink diet soda. Don't drink your calories. That's a bad thing to do. You're going to eat more. But if your stomach's feeling a little empty, go make a cup of coffee. Go have some Diet Mountain Dew. Or drink a lot of water. There's so many health benefits to having a lot of water and staying hydrated, which is why I always talk about it in my videos, and I will touch on that in a later video. Having water on hand all the time really helps me not crave food and run to the fridge every 2-3 hours. If I have a little bit of an empty feeling in my stomach, chug a little bit of water. Easy. My next piece of advice would be to not have trigger foods in your house. You've all heard the analogy, I'm gonna reiterate it. If you're an alcoholic and you're trying to quit, are you gonna have a bunch of bottles sitting on your counter? No, you're gonna get rid of all the booze in your house. Same thing applies if you're somebody who has a problem eating on impulse. You're gonna walk right by that bag of chocolate chips and you're gonna snack. You're gonna snack, and before you know it, the bag's gone and you had 500 calories of chocolate morsels, and it's horrible. I'm gonna give you an example. If you guys are subscribed to Exercise for Cheat Meals, he has a recipe called Anabolic cookie dough. One of my favorites all time. Easily. I make that cookie dough at least twice a week. It's delicious. But after I made my review video on it, not one time have I put chocolate chips in it. Why? Because that requires having chocolate chips in the house. That requires there being a bag of chocolate chips sitting in my cupboard that I have to look at every time I make food. Personally, the cookie dough is just as enjoyable without the chocolate chips, and on top of that, it's less calories per serving. So me, I know I don't have the willpower to say no to chocolate chips if they're sitting there. I'm gonna eat on impulse. So I don't buy them all together. Little Oreo toppings, chocolate chips, candy bars, whatever, even if it's like for a recipe and you're just having a tiny bit, the whole thing's sitting there and I will eat it. So I stopped buying them all together. It honestly works in my favor. I can live without a few chocolate chips, but having the bag there will lead to temptation. The next thing that helped me out a lot is to just stay occupied. Seriously, it sounds very simple, but the truth is a lot of us spend a lot of time sitting around watching TV, on our phones, kind of just wasting time. And a lot of times our mind isn't very occupied. When you bite into a delicious platter of anabolic French toast, your brain sends out a pleasure response. Dopamine starts firing off in your head, and then your brain remembers, eating, good, I enjoy this. When you're bored, your brain starts craving fun. When you eat food, it's fun, it's pleasure. Your brain's gonna wanna do it out of boredom, and that is why people eat when they have nothing better to do. That's why you're gonna see someone just pacing around in the kitchen when they're not hungry. It's because they're bored, they're not occupied, they have nothing better to do. So they're looking around like, maybe I'll eat because it's fun. Find yourself sitting around just doing nothing and your brain starts going towards food? Do some chores. Work on the project you've been neglecting. Use it as an opportunity to be productive. Use it as an opportunity to take on something that you've been neglecting for X amount of time. Now, to me, this final step is probably the most important, as I found it the most effective to myself. It took a little bit of trial and error. It took a little bit of training myself. But after a period of time, I was able to achieve it. It's really simple. Stop being so hard on yourself. There will be a night where I have my calorie maintenance. I'm in bed at around 11 or 12 because I was working a little later, and I'm hungry. I'm sorry, I'm not hungry, but I want food. See how that works? I go downstairs, I gorge my face with 2,000, 3,000 calories. I walk back up the stairs with a huge stomach. I get in bed, it hurts to get in bed, and I keep waking up throughout the night because my stomach hurts. That's happened to me So many times. The next morning I wake up and the first thing I usually like to do is have breakfast and go work out. I will skip breakfast, which is not an ideal thing to do. It's good to space your meals out, but because you binged, you like to compensate for that binge by then not eating, which is the first mistake. The next thing I do is I go to work out, and as I'm working out, as I start like lifting weights, I look in the mirror and I'm like, wow, my veins are gone. My face looks bigger. I feel lethargic. I feel gross. And then it becomes really burdenous mentally. You start to beat yourself up. You start to feel like you just ruined all your hard progress. You feel like you failed. And then it just becomes more and more demoralizing. You become weaker mentally. And then that night, usually you might compensate or you might alleviate that pain by eating more. It's a cycle. It's a snowball. And it's something that I've had happen to me so many times. There will be a night where I binge. There will be a night where I kind of fall off track. The first thing I tell myself when I get in bed, okay, you know, you messed up a little bit, but you're fine. Whatever, you had a few extra calories. Wake up the next morning and be better. I wake up that morning, I have a light breakfast, but I still have breakfast. Maybe 300 calories. Let's call it 300 calories. I'll look in the mirror, I'll see that my veins aren't popping out, my face looks a little bigger, I feel very lethargic, a little lower energy, but I tell myself, you know what, that's fine. Because the reality of it is, when you binge, you bloat a little bit. You just look a little chubby for a day. But what happens if you stay on track throughout the day, you wake up the very next morning and you're right back to where you were. That's really how it works. When you fall off track and you have another 1,500 calories one day, you're not gonna just get huge. It doesn't work like that. If you do it for a couple weeks, you will notice a difference. I've done that. I've gained like 15 pounds in a couple weeks because I was binging every night and I didn't really care. I was just very unoccupied and I wasn't in the best headspace. I'm not gonna say I was depressed, but I was just overwhelmed. I was stressed and food was a good outlet. I taught myself that's not a good thing because I started to gain a lot of weight and it became noticeable. Guys, you gotta be able to understand that we're human. We're not perfect. You're never gonna find a diet, I don't care what it is, that you will stick to for the rest of your life and never mess up. It won't happen. You have to be able to forgive yourself. That's the biggest thing. You gotta be able to have the determination and the willpower to say, okay, you know what? I screwed up, but the next day we're gonna get a little better. It happened, flush it. I had one binge in probably the last 4 to 5 months, and that one binge came the day before I filmed the 48-hour juice cleanse. After you binge, do not purge. That video I did was for content purposes. I want to clarify that because I had someone say, oh dude, I think you have an eating disorder. I'm like, no dude, I just ate a bit. But I saw this as a content opportunity. I clarified in that video it's for content purposes and it's not the way to go about things. I saw it as an opportunity to try something I wouldn't have otherwise. You need to be able to understand that if you cheat once, your progress isn't gone forever. You're gonna look the exact same as you did the day before the next day. That's how it works. You're gonna bloat. You're gonna look a little puffy, but it's gonna go down. Just stay on track. Do not be hard on yourself and tell yourself you're human. You need to be able to tell yourself that you'll screw up every so often because we will. If you sit there and try to be perfect, you're gonna put too much pressure on yourself and then your diet's just gonna cave in entirely. It's gonna result in stress, and the more stressed out you are, the more incentivized you're gonna be to eat. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. If you have a suggestion for a video, if you have a topic you want me to cover, comment it down below or send it to me on DM over Instagram. You see it in one of these corners, I don't know which one. But I am out of here. I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Peace.